All the great figures of the Council of Ephesus had died except Nestorius, who was still living in Egypt. In 441 AD, a new pope was elected. He was the deacon, Leo, who would be known as Pope Leo the Great. The emperor then was Theodosius. In 448 AD, a theological controversy about the true meaning of incarnation broke out. It became violent. It was this crisis that led to the General Council of Chalcedon. The most important persons connected with this controversy were Eutychus, a monk from Constantinople, Flavian, the saintly bishop of the imperial city, and Dioscorus, the bishop of Alexandria. Eutychus was the head monk of a monastery outside the walls of Constantinople. He was not very learned, but his ascetic life brought him fame and admiration. After the emperor and Bishop Flavian, he was the third man of importance in that city. In 448 AD, Eutychus was 70 years old. He began to teach a new heretical doctrine to his monks. He taught that in Christ there is only one nature, the divine nature. Since Jesus Christ is not a human person, which is true, he has no soul, which is wrong, as we all have. In the church, this heresy is known as Eutychianism or monophysitism or one nature theory. It had a tremendous consequence, for if today 30 million Greeks and slaves stayed away from the Catholic Church, it is because of the heretical teachings of this monk, Eutychus. In 448 AD, Flavian, the Archbishop of Constantinople, called the synod of all the bishops under him to consider some local problems. During the meeting, Eusebius, Bishop of Dolerium, produced written documents accusing Eutychus as a heretic. He demanded that he should be summoned to answer some charges. It should be noted that this Eusebius was the first person to denounce Nestorius in the year 429 AD. Flavian was rather reluctant to call the powerful Eutychus to the meeting, yet the bishops were on their opinion that he should be summoned. For 14 days, Eutychus was summoned and he avoided it for one reason or the other. On a fateful day, he appeared surrounded by 100 of his cutthroat monks and imperial guards. He was heard, and there were arguments and counter-arguments. Even the saintly bishop Flavian failed to make the heretic cease his errors. He refused to agree to the two natures of Jesus Christ. With this, the synod proclaimed Eutychus a heretic, deposed him from his post in the monastery. He was forbidden to teach in the future. 32 bishops and 33 heads of monasteries signed the document of condemnation. The emperor and the heretic appealed to Rome against this sentence, and when Pope Leo received their letters, he wrote to Flavian on the 18th of February 449 AD saying, "We desire to know the reason for your action, and all documents to be sent to us as soon as possible. Will you then, beloved brother, tell us the whole story as you ought to have done already, to say what this new thing is that contradicts the old belief, and which you have seen fit to punish with so severe a sentence?" When Flavian replied reached Rome, the Pope had no doubt that Eutychus was wrong and confirmed the sentence passed on him. But the emperor was not convinced, so he wrote to the bishops of the East on March 30th, 449 AD, ordering them to meet at Ephesus to study the case of the holy Eutychus, as he puts it. He sent a special invitation to Pope Leo, but the Pope did not go. Instead, he sent 3 legates to represent him. 130 bishops met at Ephesus on the 8th day of August, 449 AD. The emperor gave a command that Dioscorus should preside over the meeting. Funny enough, the legates sent by the Pope were not allowed to read the letter sent by him. The bishops who voted against the heretic Eutychus were not also allowed to vote. All these were the handwork of the emperor. Dioscorus now proceeded to punish both Flavian and Eusebius. The bishops of Constantinople disagreed, and there was uproar in the meeting. A mob of soldiers, seamen, monks, and ordinary people poured into the meeting. Flavian was beaten in a nice way along with other bishops. With this act, most bishops became afraid. They voted for the condemnation of Flavian. The emperor exiled Flavian. Unfortunately, he did not make it. He died on the 3rd day of his journey due to the injuries he received. When the papal legates reported to Leo all that took place at the Robert Synod of Ephesus, he wrote a letter of protest to the emperor telling him that the Synod of Ephesus was an insult to the faith and an injury to the churches in the world. He told the emperor that it was proper to call a general council somewhere in Italy where all the bishops of the Universal Church will take part. There was no reply to Pope Leo. Some months later, the emperor was killed. his wife Pulcheria assumed office and married a man called Marcian, whom she proclaimed emperor. This man replied the Pope and asked him that the council should meet in the east. Leo accepted and a date was fixed. Friends, welcome to the Fourth General Council of the Church, the Council of Chalcedon. Initially, Nicaea was chosen, but the emperor could not leave the imperial city, so he decided that the bishops should meet at Chalcedon, just across Bosphorus, close to the capital. On the 8th of October 451 AD, over 550 bishops met in the Church of Euphania in the city of Chalcedon. The delegates of the Pope presided over this council. The first act of the Church Fathers was to remove Dioscorus from his chair among the bishops, since he was a man to be judged. He was placed in the nave. The case of the heretic Eutychus was opened and charges were read against him. He got up and said what he had done at the Synod of Ephesus was at the command of the emperor. Despite his protest, the reading of the charges against him went on. On the third day, the Nicene Creed was read together with the letter of Pope Leo to Bishop Flavian. One bishop stood up and said, "It is Peter who speaks through Leo. This is what we believe. This is the faith of the apostles. Leo and Cyril teach the same." On the 13th of October, the council took up the case of Dioscorus. He was absent that day. He was summoned 3 times, and 3 times he refused to turn up. At this, the bishops asked Pacitionus to pronounce judgment on the Bishop of Alexandria. Pacitionus said he was acting on behalf of Pope Leo. He once again recalled the main charges against Dioscorus, which are the reinstatement of the heretic Eutychus, the holding of the robber synod of Ephesus, the excommunication of Pope Leo, and the refusal to stand trial. Then he pronounced the sentence, "Wherefore the Pope through us and through this holy council, in accord with the blessed Apostle Peter, the foundation stone on which the Catholic Church is built, the seat of Orthodox faith, has stripped Dioscorus of his rank of bishop and all his episcopal functions." Then a vote was taken. Not even the Egyptian bishops opposed the condemnation. Dioscorus was immediately notified of his fate. Marcian the emperor exiled him to Gankra, near the present-day city of Kankri, Turkey. On the 25th day of October, the emperor himself attended the council. He praised the church fathers for keeping the apostolic faith and the traditional belief of the Incarnation. All the bishops signed the new formula in the presence of the emperor. Other issues were also discussed. On the 3rd day of November 451 AD, the General Council of Chalcedon came to a close.